Now, one of South Africa's billionaire investor, insurance magnate Douw Steyn just passed on. Read this sad news today, and I must say, it is a sad loss for indeed South Africa, because this was one of South Africa's very own billionaire. I mean, based off his profile or how he generated his wealth, think as retail investors, there's one or two things that we can take away from his wealth. I mean, of course, he was known primarily for insurance, but also Mr. Steyn was known for the luxury estate Steyn City in South Africa, where he had, I think, his house worth 250 million rands. I mean, I learned today that not only was he into the insurance space and of course property space, but he was also into traveling and leisure. I did not know that. And I must say, it was a very strong, robust portfolio he had. I mean, this is good to know that he was a person that had diversified his investments from insurance to properties to traveling and leisure. I mean, as of today, or his current net worth, it's around 3 billion British pounds, or around $3.7 million, which shows you that he was really well off. He was a rich man, and seeing South Africa losing a guy like this, it's a sad news for everyone, because he was one of the guys that, of course, when they talk about South Africa, they will have to talk about him because of his wealth, or because of the wealth that he has accumulated. And one thing that I like is that he said when he thought about Steyn City, which is the famous luxury estate that he has here in Johannesburg, he wanted to have this estate, of course, in Europe, but because of the culture of South Africa, because he loved South Africa so much, he decided to build that estate in South Africa, which is something that also speaks volumes about how much he cared for this country. Now, when you look into his portfolio, like I said, he was known mainly for insurance. He's into hospitality. He's also into just property as a whole, which when you talk about this property portfolio, you have to talk about Steyn City. When I read about these things, I mean, one thing that came in mind is diversification. Something that every time or all the time we talk about investing on this channel, we are talking always about diversification of your portfolio. It's something that obviously will help you hedge in case of a certain industry being hit by a storm, or a certain industry being, of course, impacted by certain news. Investing or diversification, it's one thing that, of course, will lead you seeing your portfolio of investments not be impacted that much. And diversification does not just mean about investing into various industries, but it also means investing into various markets, various countries, not just South Africa, but various countries and markets, which him apparently, he also had an insurance and financial services company in UK, which shows you that not only was he only investing here in South Africa, but he was also investing into UK, France, and other countries, which is something that is good, as it shows how diversified his portfolio is, right? When you talk about some of his insurance company, you talk about Budget Insurance, you talk about Auto and General, First for Women, Dialdirect, and Hippo. These are the most popular companies that are known in South Africa when you look into insurance and financial service providers. When you talk about his property investments, you're talking about Steyn City, which is popular and it is known by, of course, quite a number of people, which, if you know a person that stays there, you know that they are rich, because it's not cheap to stay in there. He's also known for the house that he had there in Steyn City called Palazzo Steyn, which is worth around 250 million. Now, as I've said, other business ventures which he had Shambhala Game Reserve, which, of course, it owned a private game reserve in Limpopo province, South Africa, and this, of course, game reserve was around 10,000 hectares. And this 10,000 hectare wildlife sanctuary, it's a luxury safari destination and reflects his passion for wildlife conservation. He also has, of course, Saxon Hotel, Villas and Spa, which is why I said he's also into hospitality, which all this just shows of his diverse investments into various sectors, various properties and various markets, which, like I said, he was not only investing into SA, but he was also having companies that were providing insurance and financial services in UK, France, just to mention a few, which is something that is great and something that shows the massive success he had. So indeed, this is a big loss for South Africa, but yeah, like I said, we can learn a thing or two from him to say that he was a man that had a full diversified portfolio of in various sectors, various industries, which are the ones that really bear fruit for him to be worth 3 billion British pounds or $3.7 million, which this for him, it's so great, and it shows us the massive success he had. So yeah, just thought I'd come and talk a little bit about this, or I do a video. I mean, he was the guy that obviously when you talk about South Africa, when you talk about guys with money in SA, you would not definitely leave him out, because he was a billionaire, not just in South Africa but globally. He was a billionaire, which makes him one of the people that are really contributing into the economy of South Africa. I mean, he was also a philanthropy who, by the way, if you did not know, during the pandemic he donated, of course, around 320 million rands into COVID, or for COVID funding, which is something that shows you that he cared for this country, which is why he was also giving and making sure that, of course, he gives support to SA. So he'll always be remembered as one of the South African giants that lived or that invested and made better lives for people here in South Africa, which is a good thing. So like I said, thought I'd give you this quick update. Tell me what you think. Yeah, it is a sad day for South Africa, losing a guy like this who was bringing a huge impact into South Africa's economy. I mean, it is a sad story, but may his soul rest in peace, and yeah, may God be with his family during these difficult times. See you in my next video, and God bless you all.